I found my daughter counting quarters at the Lenox Square Mall food court in Atlanta on a Tuesday afternoon in July. She didn't see me at first. I watched her from behind a pillar, my baby girl, my Jasmine, sitting at a dirty table with a pile of coins spread out in front of her, like she was some kind of homeless person. Her hands were shaking as she counted. $1, $2, $3.50. She was trying to see if she had enough money to buy a sandwich. This was the same daughter I bought a brand new Honda Accord for just 8 months ago. The same girl who graduated magna cum laude from Spelman College. The same child who used to call me every Sunday, without fail. But I hadn't heard from her in 6 weeks. And now here she was, counting pennies. Like her daddy wasn't a retired postal worker with a pension and savings. Like her mama didn't leave her a trust fund when she passed. I walked up to that table, and I said, "Jasmine Nicole Crawford, where is the car we bought you?" She looked up at me, and her eyes, Lord, her eyes, they were empty, hollow, like someone had reached inside and pulled out all the light. She whispered, "Daddy, Marcus took the car. His mama took my debit cards. They said if I tell anyone, they'll take Kennedy. They'll take my baby, and I'll never see her again." That's when I knew. That's when I understood that my son-in-law and his monster of a mother had declared war on my child. And they didn't know who they were dealing with. Because I'm 72 years old, but I'm from the old school. And in my world, you don't touch a man's daughter and walk away unharmed. I looked at my Jasmine, and I said 4 words that changed everything. "Don't worry, I'll handle this." Before we get into this story, let me ask you something. If you've ever watched someone you love get destroyed by the person they married, hit that like button. If you believe parents should protect their children, no matter how old they get, subscribe to this channel. And please, drop a comment telling me what part of the world you're watching from. Are you in Atlanta, Lagos, London, New York? Well, let me know. Because what I'm about to tell you is true. Every word of it. And it might just save somebody's daughter out there. My name is Robert James Crawford. Most people call me Bobby. I'm 72 years old now. But when this story started, I was 71, living in a quiet neighborhood in Decatur, Georgia, just outside Atlanta. I'm a retired postal worker. Worked for the United States Postal Service for 37 years. I'm a widower. My wife, Patricia, passed away 4 years ago from breast cancer. And I have one child, one daughter, Jasmine. She's my whole world, my reason for waking up every morning. This is the story of how I almost lost her and how I got her back. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back when I still thought my daughter had married a good man. It was September 2021. Jasmine had been dating Marcus Wellington for 2 years. He was 31 years old, worked in pharmaceutical sales, drove a nice car, wore nice suits, and seemed to treat my daughter right. He opened doors for her. He paid for dates. He came to Sunday dinners at my house and called me sir and helped me wash dishes. I liked him. I really did. He reminded me of myself when I was young. Ambitious, polite, trying to make something of himself. Jasmine was 28 then. She worked as a pediatric nurse at Children's Health Care of Atlanta. She had her own apartment in Midtown, her own car, a 2015 Toyota Camry she'd bought herself. And she was independent, strong, smart. She got that from her mama. Patricia raised that girl to never need a man for anything. She raised her to stand on her own 2 feet. But Jasmine wanted partnership. She wanted love. She wanted a family. And Marcus seemed like he could give her that. When Marcus proposed to her at Piedmont Park during the jazz festival, she called me crying, happy tears. Daddy, he proposed. I'm getting married. And I said what every father says when his daughter gets engaged. I said, baby, are you sure? Do you really know this man? And she laughed and said, Daddy, I love him. He's good to me. He makes me happy. Trust me. So I did. I trusted her judgment because she was smart, because she'd never given me a reason not to. The wedding was in June 2022 at the Martin Luther King Jr. Chapel on the Morehouse campus. It was beautiful, small, just family and close friends, about 50 people. Jasmine wore her mother's wedding dress. I'd kept it preserved all these years, and she looked just like Patricia did when we got married in 1975. I walked her down the aisle. I gave her away. And when the preacher said, "Who gives this woman to be married to this man?" I said, "Her mother and I do." Even though Patricia was gone, I spoke for both of us. But there was one person at that wedding who made my skin crawl. Marcus's mother, Mrs. Diane Wellington. She was 63 years old, a tall, light-skinned woman with a short haircut and cold eyes. She wore an expensive cream-colored suit that was too close to white. Everyone knows you don't wear white to a wedding unless you're the bride. But Diane Wellington didn't care about rules. She cared about being seen. She cared about being in control. During the ceremony, she kept whispering to people in her pew. During the reception, she barely spoke to me or Jasmine. She spent the whole time talking about how Marcus could have done better. "He's got a good job," she told one of her friends loud enough for everyone to hear. "He could have married a doctor or a lawyer, but he chose a nurse. Like being a nurse wasn't good enough. Like my daughter wasn't good enough." I pulled Jasmine aside that night, and I said, "Baby, I don't trust that woman." And Jasmine, sweet, optimistic Jasmine, she just hugged me and said, "Daddy, she's just protective of her son. She'll warm up to me. Give it time." I wanted to believe her. But something in my gut told me Diane Wellington was poison. And I was right. The first few months of marriage seemed okay. Jasmine and Marcus moved into a townhouse in Stone Mountain. It was a nice place, 3 bedrooms, a little backyard, close to both their jobs. Jasmine decorated it beautifully. She sent me pictures. She seemed happy. She called me every Sunday, like always. We talked about work, about life, about her plans to start a family. Everything seemed normal. But looking back now, I see the signs I missed. The way her voice got quieter on the phone. The way she stopped inviting me over for dinner. The way she always had an excuse when I asked to visit. "Oh, Daddy, the house is a mess." Or, "Marcus is working late tonight." Or, "Maybe next week." I should have pushed harder. I should have insisted. But I didn't, because I trusted my daughter, and I trusted that she'd tell me if something was wrong. Then in March 2023, Jasmine called me with news that should have been joyful. She was pregnant. "Daddy, you're going to be a grandfather." And I was happy. I was so happy. But there was something in her voice, something off, something scared. I said, "Baby, is everything okay?" And she said, "Yes, Daddy, everything's fine. I'm just nervous, you know? First-time mom." I believed her. I shouldn't have, because everything was not fine. Everything was falling apart. And I didn't know it yet. Kennedy Mara Crawford Wellington was born on November 18th, 2023, at Emory University Hospital. She weighed 7 pounds, 3 ounces, and she had her mama's eyes and her grandmama's smile. I held that baby in the hospital, and I cried. I hadn't cried since Patricia's funeral. But holding my granddaughter, I cried like a baby myself. "Thank you, Jesus," I whispered. "Thank you for letting me live long enough to see this." Jasmine looked exhausted, but happy. Marcus was there, taking pictures, posting them on social media, playing the proud father. And Diane Wellington was there too, standing in the corner like a vulture, watching everything with those cold eyes. She barely looked at the baby. She barely congratulated Jasmine. She just stood there with her arms crossed, looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. I stayed at the hospital for 3 hours that first day. I held Kennedy. I talked to Jasmine. I tried to talk to Marcus, but he was glued to his phone the whole time, responding to work emails. When I got ready to leave, I kissed Jasmine's forehead and I said, "Call me if you need anything, anything at all. I'm 10 minutes away." She smiled and said, "I will, Daddy. I love you." But her smile didn't reach her eyes, and I should have noticed that. I should have seen the fear hiding behind that smile. 2 weeks later, I drove to Stone Mountain to visit Jasmine and the baby. It was a Saturday morning. I brought groceries, ingredients to make Jasmine's favorite meal, my famous smothered chicken and rice, Because I knew mothers don't have time to cook. I knocked on the door 3 times before anyone answered. When the door finally opened, it wasn't Jasmine. It was Diane Wellington. She looked at me like I was a door-to-door salesman. "Yes?" she said. Not "Hello, Mr. Crawford." Not "Come in." Just "Yes?" like I was a stranger. "I'm here to see my daughter," I said, keeping my voice calm. "And my granddaughter." Diane didn't move. She stood in the doorway, blocking me. "Jasmine is resting," she said. "The baby is sleeping. This isn't a good time." I looked past her into the house. I could see toys scattered on the floor. I could see bottles on the counter. I could smell baby powder and dirty diapers. "Ma'am," I said, "I drove 20 minutes to see my family. I'm not leaving without seeing them." Diane's jaw tightened. "Marcus isn't home right now. He's at work, and I don't think it's appropriate for you to just show up unannounced." "Unannounced? This is my daughter's house." Diane stepped closer to me, lowering her voice. "No, Mr. Crawford. This is my son's house. He pays the mortgage, and I'm here helping with the baby because Jasmine can barely handle motherhood. She's overwhelmed. She's emotional. She needs me here, not you." I felt my blood pressure rising. But I'm an old man. I've learned to control my anger. So I took a deep breath and I said, "Let me talk to Jasmine. Let me hear from her mouth that she doesn't want to see me." Diane smiled. It was a cold, cruel smile. "She's asleep. I'm not waking her. Come back another time. And next time, call first." She shut the door in my face. I stood on that porch for a full minute, staring at that closed door, trying to process what just happened. My own daughter's house. And I was turned away at the door by my son-in-law's mother. I called Jasmine's phone. It rang and went to voicemail. I called again, voicemail again. I texted her, "Baby, I'm outside. Your mother-in-law won't let me in. Call me when you get this." No response. I sat in my car in their driveway for 30 minutes, waiting, hoping Jasmine would see my car and come outside. She never did. Finally, I drove home, confused and angry, and scared. Something was very wrong, and I didn't know how to fix it. That night, Jasmine finally called me back. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "Daddy, I'm sorry about today. Diane was just trying to protect me. I was sleeping, and she didn't want to disturb me." I said, "Baby, I don't need permission from Marcus's mama to see my own daughter. What's going on?" She was quiet for a long time. Too long. Then she said, "Nothing's going on, Daddy. I'm just tired. Being a new mom is hard. That's all." But I could hear it in her voice. The lie, the fear, the exhaustion that had nothing to do with being a new mother. "Jasmine, if something's wrong, if Marcus or his mama are giving you trouble, you tell me. You hear me? You tell me, and I'll handle it." She laughed, but it was a sad laugh. "Daddy, you can't. fix everything. I'm a grown woman. I have to handle my own problems. I wanted to argue. I wanted to drive back to that house and demand to see my daughter, but I didn't. Because she asked me not to. Because she said she was fine. And I believed her. That was my mistake. I believed her when I should have trusted my gut. It was January 2024. Kennedy was 2 months old. I hadn't seen my granddaughter since the hospital. Every time I tried to visit, I got excuses. We're busy. The baby's sick. Marcus's family is visiting. I sent gifts, baby clothes, toys, books, money. I never got a thank you. I never got confirmation that Jasmine even received them. Our Sunday phone calls became shorter and less frequent. She stopped calling me Daddy and started calling me Dad, which felt distant, cold, wrong. Then one Sunday in late January, my phone rang at 10 p.m. It was Jasmine. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. Daddy, I need money. I need $2,000. Please. My heart stopped. $2,000. Baby, what's wrong? What happened? She was sobbing. I can't explain right now. I just need it. Please, Daddy. I've never asked you for money before. Please. She was right. She'd never asked me for money. Not once in her adult life. Even when she was in college, she worked 2 jobs to pay for her own expenses. She was independent, proud. So if she was asking now, something was seriously wrong. Jasmine, I'll give you the money, but you have to tell me what's going on. She was quiet for a moment. I could hear her trying to control her breathing. Then she said, Marcus lost his job 3 weeks ago. He didn't tell me until last week. We're behind on the mortgage. The car payment is late. We have bills piling up. And I'm on maternity leave. So I'm not making my full salary. We're drowning, Daddy. We're drowning. And his mama? What does she have to do with this? Jasmine's voice dropped to a whisper. She's been living with us since Kennedy was born. She says she's helping with the baby, but really she's just controlling everything. She controls what I eat, what I wear, who I talk to. She tells Marcus I'm not a good mother. She tells him I'm lazy. She tells him I'm using the baby as an excuse not to work. Daddy, I feel like I'm going crazy. I feel like I'm trapped in my own house. My hands were shaking. Jasmine, pack a bag. Take the baby. Come stay with me. Right now. Tonight. I can't. Why not? Because Marcus said if I leave, he'll fight me for custody. His mama has a lawyer in the family. They'll take Kennedy from me. They'll say I'm an unfit mother. They'll say I abandoned my marriage. Daddy, I can't lose my baby. I can't. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive to that house right then and bring my daughter home. But I knew if I pushed too hard, she'd shut me out completely. So I took a breath and I said, okay, I'll send you the money tomorrow. Western Union. You can pick it up without Marcus knowing. But Jasmine, This can't continue. You hear me? This situation is not sustainable. I know, Daddy. I know. But I just need time. I need to figure things out. Thank you for the money. I love you. She hung up before I could respond. I sat in my living room in the dark, staring at the picture of Jasmine and Patricia on my mantel. My wife's voice echoed in my head. Bobby, you protect our baby, no matter what. You protect her. And I wasn't protecting her. I was failing her, and I didn't know how to stop it. The next morning, I went to Western Union and sent $2,000. I texted Jasmine the confirmation number. She picked it up that afternoon and texted back, "Thank you, Daddy. You saved us." But I didn't feel like I'd saved anyone. I felt like I'd put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. 2 weeks later, she called asking for another $1,500, then another $1,000. By March, I'd given her over $6,000. My savings was disappearing, but I didn't care. If my daughter needed money, I'd sell everything I owned. The problem was, the money was never enough. Because Marcus wasn't looking for a job. Because Diane was bleeding them dry with her demands. Because my daughter was drowning, and I was just handing her stones instead of a life raft. April the 8th, 2024. My 72nd birthday. I woke up that morning expecting a call from Jasmine. For 42 years, she'd never missed my birthday. Even when she was in college, even when she was traveling, even when she was busy, she always called, always sang me happy birthday, off key, always told me she loved me. But that morning, my phone stayed silent. I waited until noon. No call. I texted her, "Thank you for the birthday wishes, baby girl. Love you." 2 hours later, she responded, "Happy birthday, Dad. Sorry, been busy with the baby." That was it. No phone call. No, "I love you." Just a text. Cold, distant, wrong. I tried to shake it off. I told myself she was busy. I told myself being a new mom is overwhelming. I told myself not to take it personally, but it hurt. It hurt more than I wanted to admit. That afternoon, I drove to the grocery store to buy ingredients to make myself a birthday dinner. As I was walking through the produce section, I ran into one of Jasmine's old friends from high school, a girl named Tasha. "Mr. Crawford, how are you? I haven't seen you in forever." We chatted for a few minutes. Then Tasha said something that made my blood run cold. I saw the pictures from Kennedy's baptism last Sunday. The church looked beautiful. And that dress Jasmine had Kennedy in. Adorable. I stared at her. "Baptism? What baptism?" Tasha's smile faded. "Oh, you didn't. I'm sorry, Mr. Crawford. I thought you knew." Marcus posted pictures on Facebook. The baby was baptized at his mother's church. Big celebration, lots of family. I just assumed you were there. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. No, I wasn't there. Nobody told me. Tasha looked horrified. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said anything. I just... She touched my arm. Are you okay? I nodded, even though I wasn't okay. I'm fine. Thank you, Tasha. Take care. I left my card in the middle of the aisle and walked out of that store. I sat in my car, in the parking lot, and I called Jasmine. It went straight to voicemail. I drove to Stone Mountain. I didn't care if Marcus was home. I didn't care if Diane opened the door. I needed to see my daughter. I needed answers. When I pulled up to the house, there were 2 cars in the driveway. Marcus's black Lexus and a silver Honda Accord I didn't recognize. I walked up to the door and knocked, hard, loud. Marcus answered. He looked annoyed. Mr. Crawford, what are you doing here? I pushed past him into the house. I'm here to see my daughter. Marcus grabbed my arm. You can't just barge into my house. Get your hand off me. My voice was low, dangerous. Marcus let go. I walked into the living room, and there she was. My Jasmine, sitting on the couch with Kennedy in her arms. She looked up at me, and her face went pale. Daddy, I cut her off. Why wasn't I invited to my granddaughter's baptism? The room went silent. Marcus stepped between us. That was a family event. My family. I looked past him at Jasmine. And I'm not family. I'm her grandfather. Diane Wellington emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. Mr. Crawford, you need to leave. You're causing a scene. I'll cause a bigger scene if someone doesn't tell me what the hell is going on in this house. Jasmine stood up, still holding Kennedy. Daddy, please, don't do this. Not here. Not now. I could see the tears in her eyes. I could see the fear, but I was too angry to stop. Did you know I wasn't invited? Or did they keep it from you too? She didn't answer. She just looked down at the baby. That's when I understood. She knew. She knew, and she let it happen. Marcus stepped closer to me. I think it's time for you to go. I looked at my daughter one more time. Jasmine, I love you, but this, I gestured around the room. This isn't right, and you know it. Then I left. I didn't hear from Jasmine for 3 weeks after that. 3 weeks of silence. 3 weeks of wondering if I'd lost my daughter forever. 3 weeks of staring at my phone, willing it to ring. On the 21st day, she finally called. Daddy, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I said the words I never thought I'd say to my child. Sorry isn't enough anymore. It was May 2024. Jasmine's maternity leave was ending. She was scheduled to return to work at Children's Health Care in 2 weeks. She called me on a Wednesday afternoon, and for the first time in months, she sounded like herself. Excited, hopeful. Daddy, I can't wait to go back to work. I miss my patients. I miss my co-workers. I miss feeling like myself, you know. I was happy to hear that joy in her voice. That's good, baby. You're a great nurse. Those kids are lucky to have you. And Marcus finally got a new job. It's not pharmaceutical sales, it's insurance. But the pay is decent. Things are looking up. Maybe now Diane will go back to her own house. I could hear the hope in her voice. The desperate hope that things might finally get better. That's wonderful, Jasmine. I'm proud of you both. We talked for 30 minutes. It was the longest conversation we'd had in months. When we hung up, I felt like maybe, just maybe, the worst was over. I was wrong. The worst was just beginning. 2 weeks later, on the Monday Jasmine was supposed to return to work, I got a call from her at 6:30 a.m. She was panicking. "Daddy, my car is gone. The Honda you and Mama bought me. It's not in the driveway. Marcus says he doesn't know where it is. I can't get to work. I don't know what to do." My stomach dropped. "What do you mean Marcus doesn't know where it is? It's your car. Ask him where it is." She was crying now. "I did. He said he moved it last week, and now he can't remember where he parked it. Daddy, I think he's lying. I think he sold my car." "He sold your car? Without telling you?" I was already grabbing my keys, heading to my own car. "Jasmine, I'm coming to get you. I'll drive you to work." She sniffled. "You don't have to do that, Daddy. It's so far." "I don't care how far it is. You are not missing your first day back because of this nonsense. I'll be there in 30 minutes. I made it to Stone Mountain in 23 minutes. When I pulled up, Jasmine was standing outside in her scrubs, holding Kennedy. Her eyes were red from crying. I got out of the car and hugged her. "Where's Marcus?" "He left for work 30 minutes ago. He said I need to figure it out." I felt rage building in my chest. "And his mama?" Jasmine looked at the house. "She's inside. She said it's not her problem. She said I should take an Uber to a job 40 minutes away every single day with money they didn't have." I looked at my daughter, exhausted, defeated, holding her baby, and I made a decision. "Get in the car. I'm taking you to work. And after your shift, we're going to the police station to report your car stolen." She shook her head. "I can't report Marcus to the police. He's my husband. He's Kennedy's father. He stole your car, Jasmine." She climbed into the passenger seat, strapping Kennedy into the car seat I'd bought and kept in my back seat for emergencies. "Daddy, please, let me handle this my way." But she wasn't handling it. She was drowning, and I was watching it happen. I drove her to work in silence. When I dropped her off at the hospital, I said, "Call me when your shift ends. I'll pick you up." She nodded. "Thank you, Daddy. I'm sorry you had to do this." I watched her walk into that hospital carrying her baby, her work bag, her diaper bag, her whole life on her shoulders. And I knew in that moment that something had to break. Something had to give. And it was going to get worse before it got better. For the next 2 weeks, I drove Jasmine to and from work every day, 60 minutes each way, 120 minutes of driving per day, 2,400 minutes over those 2 weeks, 40 hours, a full work week, and I didn't complain. Not once, because that's what fathers do. But during those drives, Jasmine told me things, terrible things. She told me Marcus had sold the car to pay off a gambling debt. She told me Diane had taken all her debit cards for safekeeping and was now controlling every penny Jasmine earned. She told me she wasn't allowed to see her friends anymore. She wasn't allowed to go anywhere without Diane's permission. She told me Diane called her fat, lazy, useless. She told me Marcus never defended her, never stood up for her. He just let his mother destroy his wife, piece by piece. "Why don't you leave?" I asked her one day. She looked at me like I'd asked her to fly to the moon. "Because they said if I leave, they'll take Kennedy. Marcus's uncle is a family lawyer. Diane already talked to him. She said they have evidence that I'm an unfit mother. Pictures of the house, messy. Screenshots of me complaining about being tired. Records of me taking money from you." She said they'll paint me as unstable, as a gold digger who trapped Marcus with a baby. "Daddy, I can't lose my daughter. I can't." And that's when I realized this wasn't just abuse. This was a hostage situation. And my daughter was the hostage. It was late June when things escalated from bad to catastrophic. Jasmine called me from the bathroom at work, whispering like she was hiding from someone. "Daddy, I tried to use my debit card today to buy lunch, and it was declined. I called the bank, and they said my checking account has been emptied. $23,000. Gone. My savings account, too. Another $17,000. Everything Mama left me. Everything I saved. Gone." I felt my heart rate spike. "What do you mean, gone? Where did it go?" Her voice cracked. "Marcus and Diane. They transferred it all to an account I don't have access to. The bank said I authorized the transfers. But, Daddy, I never signed anything. I never agreed to this. They forged my signature. They stole from me." I was pacing my living room now, trying to keep my voice calm. "Jasmine, this is theft. This is fraud. We need to report this to the police. We need to." "I can't. Don't you understand? If I report them, if I make this public, they'll destroy me in court. Diane already told me that if I cause problems, she'll make sure I never see Kennedy again. She'll tell the judge I'm mentally unstable. She'll say I'm making false accusations against my husband. Daddy, I'm trapped. I'm completely trapped." I sat down on my couch, feeling older than I'd ever felt in my 72 years. "Baby, I'll hire you a lawyer. A good one. We'll fight this." She laughed bitterly. "With what money?" "They took everything. And you've already given me so much. I can't ask you for more. You're not asking. I'm offering. I'll sell this house if I have to. I'll sell everything. But we are not letting them win. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something that broke my heart. Daddy, what if they do win? What if they take Kennedy and I never get her back? What if I end up like those women on the news who lose custody to abusive fathers because they couldn't prove the abuse? What if I'm one of those mothers who has to watch her child grow up from a distance, seeing her only on supervised visits? I can't survive that. I can't. That's not going to happen. But even as I said it, I wondered if I was lying. Because the system doesn't always protect the right people. Because mothers lose custody battles every day to men with money and lawyers. Because Diane Wellington had connections and resources and a ruthless determination to control everything in her orbit. And my daughter, my kind, gentle, honest daughter, she was no match for that kind of evil. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Patricia. She died believing our daughter was safe. She died believing Marcus was a good man. She died believing Jasmine would have a happy life. And I'd failed her. I'd failed to protect our child. The next morning, I did something I hadn't done in years. I went to church. Not the church I usually attended on Sundays, but Patricia's old church, New Birth Baptist, on Columbia Drive. I sat in the back pew and I prayed. I prayed like I used to pray when Patricia was dying, begging God for a miracle. Lord, I know I haven't always been faithful. I know I've been angry since Patricia passed. But I'm begging you now, protect my daughter, protect my granddaughter. Give me the strength and the wisdom to save them, because I can't do this alone. I need you. When I opened my eyes, the church was empty except for one person. An elderly woman, maybe 80 years old, sitting 3 pews ahead of me. She turned around and looked at me with eyes that seemed to see right through me. You praying for your child? She asked. I nodded. She smiled. God hears prayers for children. He hears them first and loudest. Keep praying. Keep fighting. The answer is coming. Then she stood up and walked out of the church, leaving me alone with my thoughts and my fears and a tiny spark of hope. It was July 16th, 2024, a Tuesday. I remember because it was the day that changed everything. I'd driven to Lenox Square Mall in Buckhead to buy a birthday gift for my nephew's son. I was walking through Macy's when I decided to grab lunch at the food court. That's when I saw her, my daughter, my Jasmine, sitting alone at a table in the corner, hunched over a pile of coins, counting them with shaking hands. I stood there frozen, watching her from behind a pillar. She looked thin, too thin. Her scrubs hung off her body like she'd lost 20 pounds. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked like a shell of the woman she used to be. And she was counting quarters, dimes, nickels, pennies. spreading them out on that dirty food court table like she was homeless, like she didn't have a father with money, like she wasn't a registered nurse with a college degree. I watched her count to $3.50. Then she looked up at the Chick-fil-A menu, her lips moving as she calculated what she could afford. A small sandwich was $4.50. A large was $6.50. She didn't have enough for either. I saw her shoulders slump. I saw her wipe her eyes quickly, like she was trying not to cry in public. And something inside me snapped. Not anger, not rage. Something colder. Something more dangerous. Clarity. I walked up to that table, and I said, "Jasmine Nicole Crawford, where's the car we bought you?" She jumped like I'd shocked her with electricity. Her eyes went wide. "Daddy, what are you... I didn't know you were..." Her words tumbled over each other, panic in every syllable. I pulled out a chair and sat down across from her. "The car, Jasmine. The Honda Accord your mama and I bought you for your birthday 3 years ago. The one we paid $22,000 cash for. Where is it?" She looked down at her coins. "Marcus needed to sell it. We had bills. Stop lying to me." My voice was quiet but firm. "I'm 72 years old. I've been lied to by the best. You're not a good liar, baby. You never were. Now tell me the truth. Where is the car? Where is your money? And why are you sitting in a food court counting coins like you don't have a job and a family?" That's when she broke. Right there in that crowded food court, surrounded by strangers eating their lunches, my daughter started sobbing. Not quiet tears. Loud, gasping, body-shaking sobs. People were staring. I didn't care. I reached across the table and took her hands. "Tell me everything. Right now." And she did. She told me Marcus had sold the car 6 weeks ago to pay off a $25,000 gambling debt to some men he'd met at a casino in Cherokee. She told me Diane had taken her debit cards, her credit cards, her checkbook, and her ID for safekeeping. She told me she wasn't allowed to have money. She wasn't allowed to go anywhere without permission. She had to account for every minute of her day. She told me Diane went through her phone every night, deleting contacts, reading her messages. She told me Marcus told her she was lucky they let her keep working, that most men wouldn't allow their wives to work at all. She told me Diane moved into their house temporarily after Kennedy was born and never left. She told me Diane slept in the room that was supposed to be Kennedy's nursery, forcing Jasmine to keep the baby in their bedroom. She told me Diane cooked all the meals, decided what everyone ate, controlled the grocery shopping. She told me Marcus gave her $20 a week for personal expenses, and even that came from Diane's approval. She told me she had to ask permission to take a shower, permission to call me, permission to exist. "Why didn't you tell me all this before?" I asked. She looked at me with eyes full of shame. "Because they said, if I told anyone, if I reached out to you or my friends or anyone, they'd take Kennedy. Marcus's uncle already drew up custody papers. Diane has pictures of me crying, pictures of the house messy, recordings of me saying I was overwhelmed. She said they'd use everything against me. They'd say I was an unfit mother. They'd say I was mentally unstable. They'd say I abandoned my family. And Daddy, I believed them. I believed I was trapped. I squeezed her hands tighter. Baby, look at me. You are not trapped. You are a victim of financial abuse, emotional abuse. They are committing crimes against you. And we are going to stop this. Today. Right now. She shook her head frantically. I can't. They'll take Kennedy. I can't lose my baby. I interrupted her. They're not taking Kennedy because I'm not going to let that happen. You hear me? I'm going to handle this. She looked at me with desperate hope. How? Daddy, how are you going to handle this? I pulled out my phone and made 3 calls right there in that food court. The first call was to my lawyer, an old friend named James Milton, who handled Patricia's estate. The second call was to my bank. The third call was to Jasmine's supervisor at the hospital. Within 30 minutes, I had a plan. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't safe. But it was something. And something was better than nothing. That Tuesday afternoon, I didn't take Jasmine back to Stone Mountain. I took her to my house in Decatur. She was terrified. Daddy, I have to go back. I have to pick up Kennedy from daycare. Marcus will be home at 6. If I'm not there... I cut her off. You're not going back. Not today, not tomorrow, not until we fix this. Now call the daycare and tell them I'm picking up Kennedy. I'm her grandfather. I'm on the pickup list. They know me. But Daddy, Jasmine, do you trust me? She hesitated. That hesitation hurt more than anything Marcus or Diane had done. But then she nodded. Yes, I trust you. I handed her my phone. Then make the call. She called the daycare and authorized me to pick up Kennedy. Then she called Marcus. I listened to her tell him she was sick at work and staying late to finish paperwork. I listened to her lie to her husband the way he'd taught her to lie. It made me sick, but it bought us time. I drove to Little Scholars Learning Center on Glenwood Avenue and picked up my granddaughter. She was 9 months old, chubby and perfect, and blissfully unaware of the war being fought over her. I buckled her into the car seat, drove back to my house, and carried her inside. Jasmine was sitting on my couch, looking terrified. What if Marcus finds out? What if Diane calls the daycare? What if... I set Kennedy in her arms. Then let them find out. You're with your father. You're safe. That's all that matters right now. That night, I made dinner. Spaghetti and garlic bread, Kennedy's favorite. We ate together like a family. Then I put Kennedy to bed in the spare bedroom that used to be Jasmine's childhood room. Jasmine sat on the edge of the bed, watching her daughter sleep, tears streaming down her face. I forgot what it felt like to breathe, she whispered. I forgot what it felt like to not be terrified every second. I sat down next to her. You're going to remember. I promise you're going to remember. The next morning, my lawyer, James Milton, came to my house with paperwork. He was 68 years old, a tall black man with gray hair and a sharp mind. He'd handled divorces, custody battles, and abuse cases for 40 years. Bobby, you did the right thing getting her out of that house, he said. But we need to move fast, because once Marcus realizes she's not coming back, he's going to weaponize that little girl. Jasmine looked terrified. See, I told you. They're going to take Kennedy. James held up his hand. Not if we file first. Jasmine, I need you to tell me everything, every detail, every bruise, every threat, every dollar they stole. I need bank statements, medical records, text messages, everything. Can you do that? She nodded. For the next 4 hours, Jasmine told James everything. He recorded it. He took notes. He asked questions. And then he said something that gave me hope. They made a mistake. They got too confident. They left a trail. We can prove financial abuse. We can prove coercion. We can prove fraud. And we can file for emergency custody before they even know what hit them. How long will that take? I asked. James looked at his watch. If we file this afternoon, we can get an emergency hearing tomorrow morning. The judge will grant temporary custody to Jasmine pending a full investigation. But there's a catch. I felt my stomach tighten. What catch? He looked at Jasmine. You have to press charges against Marcus and Diane for fraud, for financial abuse, for theft. This can't just be a family matter. This has to be a legal matter. Are you ready to do that? Jasmine looked at Kennedy, sleeping peacefully in my arms. She looked at me. Then she took a deep breath and said, Yes, I'm ready. That afternoon, we filed a police report. Then we filed emergency custody papers. Then we filed for a restraining order against both Marcus and Diane. By 6 p.m., the legal wheels were in motion. Marcus called Jasmine's phone 17 times that evening. She didn't answer. He texted, Where are you? Why isn't Kennedy at daycare? What's going on? She didn't respond. Finally, at 9 p.m., he texted, I know you're with your father. Come home. Now, or I'm calling the police and reporting Kennedy kidnapped. James told her to respond with one sentence. My lawyer will contact you tomorrow. Do not call me again. Marcus called me next. I answered, Mr. Crawford, I don't know what lies Jasmine told you, but you need to send her home. She's hysterical. She's emotional. She's not thinking clearly. She needs to be with her husband. I cut him off. Your wife filed a police report today for fraud and financial abuse. My lawyer will be in touch. Goodbye, Marcus. I hung up. He called back 8 more times. I blocked his number. That night, I lay in bed, listening to Kennedy babble in the next room and Jasmine crying softly in the guest room. I thought about Patricia. I thought about all the times she told me, Bobby, you're too soft. You need to be tougher. You need to fight harder. She was right. I'd spent too long trying to be diplomatic, trying to give Marcus the benefit of the doubt, trying to believe my daughter's marriage could be saved. But some things can't be saved. They can only be survived. And starting tomorrow, we were going to do more than survive. We were going to win. The emergency custody hearing was held on Thursday, July 18, 2024, at the DeKalb County Courthouse. Judge Martha Holloway presided, a black woman in her 50s known for being tough but fair. We arrived at 9 a.m. Jasmine was shaking so badly I had to hold her arm to keep her steady. James Milton carried a briefcase full of evidence. Bank statements showing $40,000 stolen, text messages showing threats, photos showing Jasmine's weight loss and exhaustion, medical records documenting her stress-related symptoms. Marcus arrived at 9:15 a.m. with Diane and a lawyer I didn't recognize. The lawyer was a short white man in an expensive suit, probably mid-40s, with slicked back hair and a smug expression. He introduced himself as Richard Hayes, family law specialist. Diane sat behind Marcus wearing all black, like she was attending a funeral. Her expression was pure hatred. Marcus wouldn't look at Jasmine. He just stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Judge Holloway called the courtroom to order. This is an emergency hearing regarding temporary custody of Kennedy Amara Crawford Wellington, age 9 months. Mrs. Crawford Wellington is petitioning for sole temporary custody with a restraining order against her husband Marcus Wellington and his mother Diane Wellington. Mr. Wellington is contesting. Let's begin. Mrs. Crawford Wellington, please take the stand. Jasmine walked to the witness stand on shaking legs. James Milton approached her gently. Jasmine, can you tell the court why you left your marital home on Tuesday, July 16th? She took a breath. Because I was afraid for my safety and my daughter's safety. My husband and his mother were financially abusing me. They stole my car. They stole over $40,000 from my bank accounts. They controlled every aspect of my life. I wasn't allowed to have money. I wasn't allowed to see my friends or family. I had to account for every minute of my day. James nodded. Can you give the court specific examples? Jasmine's voice grew stronger. In May, Marcus sold the car my parents bought me without my permission. When I asked where it was, he said he couldn't remember where he parked it. Later, I found out he sold it to pay gambling debts. In June, my mother-in-law took all my debit cards, credit cards, and checkbook. She said it was for safekeeping. I discovered she and Marcus had transferred all my money, including my inheritance from my mother, into an account I don't have access to. When I confronted them, they threatened to take my daughter away if I told anyone. Richard Hayes stood up. Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay and speculation. Judge Holloway looked unimpressed. Overruled. Continue, Mrs. Crawford Wellington. Jasmine pulled out her phone. I have recordings. I started recording conversations 3 weeks ago because I knew no one would believe me. She played an audio clip. Marcus's voice clear as day. You're lucky I let you keep working, Jasmine. Most men would make their wives stay home. And if you keep complaining, maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll quit your job for you. Then what will you do? You have nothing without me. Nothing. The courtroom went silent. Judge Holloway's expression darkened. Continue. Jasmine played another recording. Diane's voice this time, cold and cruel. You're a terrible mother. You can't even keep the house clean. You're lazy, selfish. If Marcus divorces you, I'll make sure you never see Kennedy again. I have a lawyer in the family. We'll bury you. You'll be lucky to get supervised visits once a month. Judge Holloway leaned forward. Mrs. Crawford Wellington, do you fear for your daughter's safety if custody is shared with your husband? Jasmine nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, Your Honor. Because his mother threatened to take Kennedy away if I don't obey. Because Marcus cares more about pleasing his mother than protecting his daughter. Because I don't trust either of them anymore. James Milton submitted the evidence. Bank statements, medical records, text messages, everything. Then he called me to the stand. Mr. Crawford, can you describe your daughter's physical and mental state when you found her on July 16th? I told the truth. She was sitting in a food court counting coins to buy food. She'd lost at least 20 pounds. She looked exhausted and scared. When I asked her what was wrong, she broke down crying in public. That's not my daughter. My daughter is strong. But they broke her. Richard Hayes tried to cross-examine me. Mr. Crawford, isn't it true that you have a financial incentive to help your daughter gain custody? Don't you benefit from her having access to marital assets? I looked him dead in the eye. I benefit from my daughter being safe. I benefit from my granddaughter being raised by her mother, instead of a con artist and his manipulative mother. Money has nothing to do with this. Judge Holloway called Marcus to the stand. He took the oath, still refusing to look at Jasmine. Richard Hayes asked him softball questions. Marcus, did you steal your wife's car? No, Your Honor. I sold it because we needed money. It was a joint decision. Did you steal money from her accounts? No, Your Honor. I moved our marital assets to a joint account for better management. Judge Holloway interrupted. Mr. Wellington, did your wife have access to this joint account? Marcus hesitated. Well, not yet. We were setting up her access. Not yet? So you took her money and didn't give her access? That's not a joint account, Mr. Wellington. That's theft. Marcus's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, there may have been miscommunication, but there was no criminal intent. Judge Holloway held up her hand. I've heard enough. Here's my ruling. Temporary sole custody is granted to Jasmine Crawford Wellington, effective immediately. Marcus Wellington will have supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week. Supervised by a court-appointed officer. Diane Wellington is prohibited from attending visitation and is subject to a restraining order requiring her to stay at least 500 feet away from Jasmine and Kennedy at all times. Marcus exploded. This is insane. You can't take my daughter from me based on lies. Judge Holloway's voice turned to ice. Mr. Wellington, your wife has recordings of you threatening her. She has bank statements showing you stole $40,000. She has medical records showing the physical toll your abuse took on her body. These are not lies. These are facts. And if you interrupt me again, I'll hold you in contempt. Marcus shut up. Diane started crying. Fake tears. Theatrical tears. Judge Holloway ignored her. Furthermore, I'm ordering a full forensic audit of all marital assets. If the audit reveals criminal activity, I will refer this case to the district attorney for prosecution. Mr. Wellington, you're lucky your wife isn't pressing charges yet. Don't push your luck. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel came down. It was over. Jasmine collapsed into my arms, sobbing, Is it over? Daddy, is it really over? I held her tight. It's over, baby. You're safe now. Kennedy's safe now. It's over. 3 months later, October 2024, the forensic audit was complete. Turns out Marcus had been stealing from Jasmine since before they got married. He'd opened credit cards in her name without her knowledge, racking up $30,000 in debt. He'd forged her signature on loan documents. He'd lied about his income. And Diane? She'd been taking money from their joint account every month, thousands of dollars, to pay her own bills. Between the two of them, they'd stolen over $68,000 from my daughter. The district attorney filed criminal charges. Marcus was arrested for fraud, forgery, and financial abuse. Diane was charged as an accomplice. They both hired expensive lawyers and tried to fight it. But the evidence was overwhelming. In December 2024, Marcus pleaded guilty to avoid trial. He got 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, and a court order to pay back every penny he stole. Diane got 2 years probation and was ordered to attend counseling for her role in the abuse. The divorce was finalized in January 2025. Jasmine got full custody of Kennedy. Marcus got supervised visitation, but after the first 2 visits, where he spent the whole time on his phone, ignoring his daughter, he stopped showing up. Last I heard, he moved to Florida with some new girlfriend. Diane tried to sue for grandparents' rights. Judge Holloway denied the petition, citing her history of abuse and threats. Jasmine never heard from either of them again. As for Jasmine and Kennedy, they moved in with me. Jasmine went back to work at the hospital. She gained back the weight she lost. She started smiling again, started laughing again. She started going to therapy to process the trauma. She started rebuilding her life piece by piece. Kennedy turned 1 year old in November. We threw her a birthday party in my backyard. Just family and close friends. Jasmine's old friends from high school came. My church family came. Even Tasha, the girl who accidentally told me about the baptism, came with her kids, watching Kennedy smash her first birthday cake, covered in frosting, giggling at everything. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of safety, the presence of love, the presence of family. Jasmine came up beside me, Kennedy on her hip. Daddy, I never said thank you. Not really. You saved us. You saved my life. I shook my head. You saved yourself, baby. You found the courage to leave. You found the strength to fight. I just drove the car. She smiled. No, Daddy. You did more than drive the car. You believed me when I thought no one would. You fought for me when I couldn't fight for myself. You reminded me that I deserved better. That's not just driving the car. That's love. I hugged her, my eyes wet. Your mama would be proud of you. So proud. She wiped her own tears. I wish she was here to see Kennedy grow up. She is here. Every time Kennedy smiles, every time you stand up for yourself, every time you show that little girl what strength looks like. Your mama is here. That night, after everyone left and Kennedy was asleep, I sat on my porch looking at the stars. I thought about that day in the food court. That moment when I saw my daughter counting coins. That moment when I made the decision to fight. And I thought about all the daughters out there who are counting coins in food courts, trapped in bad marriages, being abused by people who promise to love them. All the daughters whose fathers don't know how to save them. All the daughters who think they're alone. If you're watching this from somewhere in the world, Atlanta, Lagos, London, New York, anywhere, and you see yourself in my daughter's story, I want you to know something. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are being abused. And you deserve better. Tell someone. Tell your father, your mother, your friend, your pastor, your co-worker. Tell anyone who will listen. Don't wait until you're counting coins. Don't wait until you've lost everything. Don't wait until it's too late. And if you're a parent watching this, pay attention to your children. Really pay attention. Notice when they stop calling. Notice when they make excuses. Notice when they look scared. Don't let pride or politeness stop you from asking hard questions. Don't assume everything is fine just because they say it is. Sometimes the people we love most are drowning in plain sight, and they need us to throw them a life raft, even when they say they're okay. Especially when they say they're okay. I'm 72 years old now. I've lived a long life. I've seen a lot. And I've learned one thing above everything else. Family protects family. No matter what. No matter the cost. No matter the risk. My daughter and my granddaughter are safe now. They're healing. They're thriving. And I wake up every morning grateful that I lived long enough to see them win. Because that's what this was. A war. And we won. Not because we were stronger. Not because we had more money, but because we refused to give up. We refused to let evil win. So, to everyone watching, I'll leave you with this. If someone you love is trapped, fight for them. If you're the one who's trapped, fight for yourself. Don't count coins when you deserve banquets. Don't settle for abuse when you deserve love. Don't accept prison when you deserve freedom. Life is too short. And you, yes, you watching this right now, you deserve better. Remember that. Hold on to that. And when the time comes to fight, fight like hell. Because your life, your peace, your future, it's worth fighting for. Now, if you'll excuse me, I hear my granddaughter waking up from her nap. She's calling for her grandpa, Bobby. And that sound, that beautiful sound, is better than anything else in this world. That's the sound of victory. That's the sound of family. That's the sound of love winning. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure she knows she's safe. She's loved. And she's never, ever counting coins. Thank you for listening to my story. God bless you all. And remember, like this video if it touched you. Subscribe if you want to hear more stories like this. And comment where you're watching from. Let's build a community of people who refuse to let abuse win. Let's be the village that protects our daughters, our sons, our families. Together, we're stronger than any Marcus or Diane out there. Together we win. This is Bobby Crawford, signing off. Take care of each other out there.